All right, it's streaming. And I don't know if it's, it says it's loading. Hold on. All right, it says that we're live, and I'm gonna just double check and make sure that everything is showing up. And you got me in the corner. That's awesome. Okay, I'm gonna just move this out of the way. And so I'm going to play, I'm gonna play this intro right now. Not really sure if it's being seen, but I'm gonna check it after it's over and see what happens. Hey guys, everyone who's trying to check in, and if you've migrated over from the Facebook world into YouTube, yes, Facebook is getting the boot for now. We're doing Cheerful Conversations here from YouTube, but we're streaming live. We're going to see how this goes. There's a lot of functionality that I have to still test and figure out. So if you're watching, thank you for being here. If you are not, if you're watching this on the replay, then you're going to be watching it the same way that I'm going to be watching it, but we're going to just wing it and go with it. We're going to talk about some awesome stuff regarding failure, which is just a perfect topic for this show with everything that's been going on. But in the meantime, let's roll the intro. Watch me dancing and all right. This is just so crazy that we're doing this. Okay, so here I am. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Cheerful Conversations. We are doing this through Zoom, so I don't have the fancy logo in the corner. You can see more of my background. And today I have an awesome co-host with me who's helping me kind of brave this new format. And coincidentally, the format that I had before wasn't going to work for him anyway, so it's just a great way to try something new. I'm going to preface before we get started saying that you'll probably hear some noise in the background. We've got some mad construction going on outside. Nate's got some birds to hopefully help mask that. But we're going to just get started. We're going to go and roll with this because that's how I do it. And so everyone, welcome to Cheerful Conversations. I'm Apryl Schluter. My co-host is Nate Ruben, who lives in Northbrook with me. And so we're super excited to do this show today. Our theme is overcoming failure. I think this was, there were some topics that Nate had brought forward that I was like, oh, this is perfect timing. Let's theme the video this way, or theme the episode this way. So Nate, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me on, Apryl. I'm very excited. I've always been interested in being a part of these types of interview shows. I've done a few before, but this is much more different than any show I've done before. So I'm excited.
Yeah, and it's interesting because it's like I like it. I like the format of just kind of almost bantering back and forth instead of just the interview. Like I'm asking you a bunch of questions and then you just answer. But it is a dialogue, so definitely feel free to put me on the spot and ask me anything too if anything comes up as we go. But most of the things that we do talk about on this show, we kind of have a shared conversation around. It's almost like the talk show format with all the daytime shows, except we're in the afternoon and we're way cooler. Yeah. And we're low budget and we're doing everything off the cuff. So you get to see all the flaws, all the just everything as we're growing. And every episode that I strive to do, I try to ramp it up a little bit more and do something different. So I'm guessing that a year from now, the show format will be different and I'll have to have you on again and we'll do some more fun stuff and tap into that. But in the meantime, we're just here. So again, as I mentioned, our topic is overcoming failure. And we'll talk a little bit more about why this is so relevant. I don't know, for those of you that saw my show a couple weeks ago, I had my dear friend Angie Martin on. We were using the same format that I had been having challenges with, and then everything was working out fine. And then lo and behold, I got an email after the show about an update that I was supposed to install that didn't come until after the show. And basically all you heard was me talking at myself. I don't even want to watch it. I'm going to watch it, but that was a pretty tough failure. And I came onto YouTube and tried to log onto Zoom, and I just did this video and I was like, I'm stunned right now. I can't believe that did not work out, but that's just a signal that I need to reevaluate things. And that's what I love about failure, is because sometimes you have to fail in order to see the changes that you need to make. And we're going to talk about that all through today. And so let me just really quickly get you guys to know my awesome co-host. Nate, you want to tell everybody what you do?
Sure. Thanks, Apryl. So hi, I'm Nate. I run Ruben Digital, and we're a full service marketing agency. A lot of times you hear that buzzword full service. Like, what does full service even mean? Well, we're a one-stop shop where you can get your website done, have your social media accounts managed, run paid advertising, put together branding, put together all types of in-person, like actual print materials. And then we also do some photo and video. Our latest service is mobile app development. So we're always trying new things and trying to go where people have needs. The idea, though, is we take care of people all in one place.
You're doing mobile app development. We may need to talk about that.
Yeah. Well,
that's on my bucket list.
Yeah, a lot of people want that. And so might as well learn it.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay, great. And let's talk about how we met. So it's not very often that I have a co-host who lives in the same state, let alone town. So I'm super excited that I got to meet you in person and multiple times through our Chamber of Commerce, right?
Yes.
It was funny because I feel like before I met you, I just had a whole bunch of people like, you need to meet Nate. He's like the male version of you. I'm like, what does that mean? This is a couple of people that said that, but like, oh, you guys are like totally get along. You guys have like this really great energy and blah, blah, blah. You need to meet. And then I think that when we did meet, it was at the end of a meeting and it was just like kind of hectic and we didn't really get to talk. So this is probably going to be the first time that we actually get to sit down and like have a conversation, and it's just live in front of a ton of people for them to watch.
Well, that's what's exciting, because I heard the same thing about you. I heard like, here's this woman who really knows her stuff, but she's really fun and cheerful and people like her. And a lot of times I meet people who are really smart, but they're not necessarily as passionate or cheerful. And all of your branding is around cheerfulness and purple. I've always liked purple's color of royalty. And I went to a school that had purple as a color, and you went to a school that had purple as a color. So like, I was just vibing with you right away.
Yeah. Wait, so where did you go to school?
So I went to Clemson. I was Clemson before I dropped out, which is actually part of some failure we'll talk about. But yeah, so purple is definitely one of my colors.
Yeah. And I also so I sat down with your mom, right? Michelle?
Yeah. She's my mom. For those of you who don't know, this is a family business I started. So my mom's our community outreach director, and my sister runs the whole social media side.
It's crazy because it's like, I knew that, but then I was like having a brain fart, like, wait, is that it? I don't know. Because her mom looks so young and she's so fun too. I went to coffee with her one time. And then the way that I met her actually was I was looking for somebody to do a cake for my son's birthday. And she had reached out and was like, you should try these people. And I love them. And so I did like my birthday cake last year and my kids' birthday cakes. And I tried to do it for my kids this year. And they're like, we're too busy. I'm like, dang it. So there's a lot of connections here, even though we haven't had the time to really sit down and chat. So I love that. And then, so my next question for you, which I ask everyone who comes on the show, and this is a non-work thing, so I guess I can't do anything with social media. What is something that you geek out on? What do you love to do that people might not know about you?
So I like to do a lot of things that people probably wouldn't guess from the way they see me in business mode. But like the number one thing I geek out on is tea. And so like a lot of people are big, like, oh, let's meet at Starbucks, let's get coffee. And it's such the norm, but I love to drink tea. And so I'm always trying to meet people either where there's really good tea or where I can make my own. And then the best is when I can invite them over to our house and I show them our cabinet. And I've got like 20 different flavors in there right now, about 15 new ones for me to try sitting in the basement. So ever since I found tea, love it.
That's amazing. So what's your favorite kind of tea? Because I tend to drink more tea than coffee because coffee gives me the jitters. But and it's just too much. So I have been definitely drinking more tea. And when I worked at Northwestern, the math department that I was running, we would have tea time every day at 3:00 without fail. And so we would have like jasmine tea and then green tea and then one more tea, like oolong or something. I don't know. There were 3 types teas that we had that like our work studies would make, and then we would just take the break at 3 o'clock. It was like a tradition for that department. So yes,
Wow.
I love tea. So what is your favorite kind of tea?
That's a great tradition. My favorite is oolong, actually. So
Okay.
there's probably like 7 different classifications of tea,
Yeah.
but oolong is my favorite. And then within there, I really like the more dank green kind of tea oolongs.
Mhm.
So like a woodsy, like Tivana made a Four Seasons oolong. Today I was drinking one called Spring Dragon oolong. It's just gets my digestion going. It's a healthy amount of caffeine for me, and it's perfect.
I love it. Okay, I'm coming over
Yeah,
to do. We'll do
whenever
tea. We
we'll
can
have
do.
you over next.
Yeah, we can do like a tea time with Nate and April. We'll
Yeah,
just do like little segments because that's kind of what I want to do with the show is to have like little segments that are pre-recorded and then just like play them because it would be super fun.
it would be a
But
lot of fun. I mean,
it
that's
takes a
actually a
little.
goal of mine is to put
Yeah,
together a show around people getting together, trying new teas. I would love to do that with you. That'd be fun.
I love it. Yeah, let's do it. Okay, that's awesome. All right, we're already making plans.
Here we go.
Okay, awesome. Okay, and then the third thing that I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna say that I'm sweating a little bit because it's so nice outside, and I think my heat's still on because Chicago is crazy. But anyways, as I tell everybody, I've got this like awesome, and I've already spilled this like a couple times in prior shows. There's this game that I have. It's more a game, but I just use the questions because I like them. Vulnerability is sexy. It's through a Roundtable Companies, which is located in Highland Park. But I'm going to do a icebreaker question, and you're not going to know what it is until I pull it out of the box. So are you ready?
Born ready.
Okay. All right. Okay. So the question is, and I'll turn it around so that you can read it, is when you cannot sleep at night, what do you think about? So, oh my gosh. This is like calling me out on the fact that I've been going to bed at like 4 a.m. and a few nights this past week. It's just been crazy. But okay, so we'll both answer it, but you start first.
Sure.
When you can't sleep, what do you think about?
So I'll go 2 directions of this. I think like on the first hand, it's am I thinking about something that's keeping me up? And if it's that, it's probably because I've met some new young attractive woman, and I'm thinking about her and like what can we do? Like what would be a good date? Like trying to think about questions. And I'm really bad at that part of dating. I've always been like more childish, stereotypical man. Like, oh, she's hot, and I don't know how to like articulate what's in my brain. So I have to really put a lot of work into how do I get to know someone. So that would keep me up thinking. But on the flip side, if I'm thinking because I'm just already up and like I can't sleep, maybe I had too much caffeine, I worked hard, I'm probably thinking about like work plans and what are some dreams that I'm trying to create, and just taking advantage of like the house being quiet.
Yes. Awesome. Yeah, I was going to say that most of the time, the reason that I'm awake is because I'm thinking about work. That's the workaholic in me. I feel like it's always like, oh, I just wish I could send that email. And so sometimes I have to actually get out of bed, even if I'm trying to sleep, and just write it down so that it transplants from my brain into bed.
That reminds me, I have an email I need to send, so I'm going to write that down.
Write it down so you don't think about it while we're having our show. And I think other times when I am in a conflict with somebody, a lot of time, and this doesn't happen as often because I try to be as communicative as possible. But usually if I'm in a fight with somebody or if I had an argument, that will usually tend to keep me up at night as well. And then I'll just kind of think about how do I want to resolve this and all of that. But most of the time when I can't sleep, it's usually because something was lingering from work. And sometimes I'll do things where I'll organize my day where I have to sit there and say, okay, I'm going to leave my computer downstairs because I work at home. I'm going to leave my computer downstairs, and I'm going to give everything that I can. I'm going to bring a notebook up, and if I think of anything, I'll just write it down. But I have to shut down for the night. Lost your video. No. While you're working on that. But sometimes I also, when I'm trying to, when I can't sleep, there's a lot of times that in order to try to get myself to sleep, I will just start playing games to try to help me nurse myself back to sleep. I have been trying to do meditation lately, which Nate, I know that that's something that you do a lot of, because I saw some sort of challenge you were doing. Was it last month or
Yeah,
a
it was
couple months
actually the whole
ago?
month of March. I did
Okay.
a meditation March challenge.
Yes.
That was the thing I was waffling between talking about for the things I geek out on. I geek out
Oh,
on
yeah.
tea, yoga, meditation, and painting. Like all
Yeah.
very non-business guy kind of things.
Yeah, no, but I think it's great. And I have been, I think in April, I did a 30-day dance challenge. So it was just kind of like, you're doing your challenge, and then I'm doing my challenge, and then we'll talk about it in May. So I did a 30-day dance challenge, just a little bit more energetic. But then one of my clients was doing a meditation challenge. So she was doing like 5 to 15 minutes a day. And she had so much fun with it that she kept on going for the month of May. And so she kind of roped me into trying it. And I have this aversion to meditation just because I have so much energy. And I'm like, no, I don't want to sit still. But then I got my kids doing it. And so now it's like, oh, it's something we can do together. And then all of a sudden meditation is okay. And we're doing it more like at night because they are so riled up, and they're night owls like me. So we're all like 9 o'clock trying to like listen to this 10-minute meditation. We got Headspace. I just downloaded that app because I was like, I need something easy. And so we just play something. And then my one son will like fall asleep nice and easy. And then my younger son is like, Mommy, it's over. And I'm like, all right, let's just lay and go to bed. So having them as my accountability to continue doing it, aside from my own clients, I just love having the people that I help, inspiring me to do stuff. But it was like, oh, meditation, that's awesome. So yeah, so I've been starting to do that, and I think that that's really helping calm my mind at the end of a long day. So I've been able to fall asleep. But there was a couple nights ago that I fell asleep at like 4 a.m. and I'm like, what am I doing? Why am I still up? I don't know why. And I just like was staring. I was watching TV. I couldn't do anything. But anyways, awesome. That's great questions or answers to the question. So what do we talk about next? Okay, so I was just trying to switch up the format for this just because we have all of these new things happening during this show, but I wanted to start with the cheerful news segment. So do you want me to share my story first, or do you want to go first?
Yeah, go first. I'd love to hear it.
Okay, so I was trying to figure out what a cheerful news story could be, and I just kept on coming back to the royal wedding, which I think has been over talked like so much. And I actually didn't even watch the wedding. I just kind of like was browsing the news after it was over and just kind of hearing everything that was going on. But I wanted to share that as my cheerful news story. And I actually had an article. I don't know, I'm not going to pull it up, but you'll see it in the show notes for those of you who are checking the show out later. But I found an article that it just made me laugh because it was called How to Talk About the Royal Wedding, Even If You Didn't Watch the Royal Wedding. So, this is a little bit humorous. So it was like, ooh, I got the gist of everything. But the big thing that I wanted to share, and maybe this is because it's part of my personality to be a little bit rebellious and unconventional, is the fact that the wedding itself was really unconventional. It was just, her walking down the aisle by herself and her dad not being there, and having, was it Prince Philip, like walking her down for half of it. And there was a sermon that was done that was unconventional, and just her dress was a little unconventional, or the wedding cake, and her bridesmaids were all kids under 10 years and younger. And I just thought that was really empowering and cool because it's just different. And it's for something that's such a huge traditional to do with just British like royal family and everything like that, for them to insert things that would kind of shift course and kind of allow this uniqueness to shine through. I just love that because I tend to, run into places where like we have to do things this way because that's how society does it. And that's how we always have been doing it. And so whenever I see a tradition broken, even just ever so slightly, not to say that tradition is bad or anything, but just to see something different and something unique done. Even the fact that she's not, she's an actress and she's marrying into a royal family. And so it's just a very different, you can tell that things are changing, and being unique and being authentic is becoming more of an accepted thing, which is so great for me and my business and all the things that I do. So that was my cheerful news story.
Nice. That's interesting. I saw a lot of coverage. I didn't watch it. I'm not really, and I really don't watch the news, but I was in public and I saw it a few places. And
Yeah. And I think everybody was talking about it. So it was, I mean, and it's good because it's at least we're not talking about the negative stuff that you normally see. It's like, yay, people are getting married, and maybe that's not, maybe that's not real news, but at least it's cheerful. So I'm totally down with that.
Well, I think it was kind of a big deal in the fact that like it's an American marrying into a royal
Yeah.
British family, and also she's black, and that's one of
Mhm.
those things where I there's conspiracy theories. I don't know how true they are, but like Princess Diana was murdered because she had an affair with a black man, and
Mm.
for like something like that to have been the norm 20 years ago to now like her children able to marry whoever they please, like that's a big deal. So I think that
Yeah.
part of it was like huge.
Totally. I totally agree. So yay. Okay. So how about your news story? What do you have?
So mine is yours is international, global. Mine is hyper local. Mine was about I don't know if you're familiar with the house in Northbrook called Providence Farms, but it's a sober recovery home off of Sunset Ridge Road.
Oh, no. Yeah, I don't know about it.
Well, no. So
I've
what's
yeah.
interesting about the story is they did a video on CBS where they interviewed two of the young men who were residents there, actually both friends of mine, and it was
Mhm.
really cool because they addressed what some of the concerns were about having sober living in a higher end residential area. A
Mm.
lot of people had the whole "not in my backyard" kind of mentality, and so it was just interesting to show like, hey, look, a year later, this place has already transformed the lives of so many young men, and they're looking to continue to grow. And I mean, even the Rotary Club supporting them now, and there's all kinds of really good things going on. It's just funny to show how people were like afraid of something and it's been nothing like their fears. Like they thought it was going to be crazy and wild, and like women should be, worried that they'll get jumped walking their dog. Like a guy literally said that. In reality, these were a bunch of people who were getting high and getting drunk and going nowhere in life, who were given an opportunity to live in an environment where they could get their lives together. And now they all have jobs and they're all contributing and volunteering in the community and probably better than the average neighbor. So it's just kind of funny.
Oh, I love that. No, that's so great. And that's in Northbrook right
Yeah,
now,
it's in
right?
Northbrook, and they all live in this big mansion. There's like six of them now there, and they're trying to expand to a few more. And they have a farm in the backyard, and it's a really
That's
nice, touching story.
I'm excited to check out that article. And you said yours was a video, right? So I'm
Hmm.
going to definitely
Yeah.
check that out. So those of you who are watching later, give us a few days. We'll put all the show notes and everything that we reference in the notes below, and you can check that out. Yay! That's awesome. I love that. I love hearing good things happening in my hometown. Have you lived here most of your life?
Yeah, so actually, technically, I live in Buffalo Grove, but
Okay.
I do so much in Northbrook that
Mhm.
everyone just thinks I live here because I
Okay.
have
You
so
live
many
in both.
clients in Northbrook. I have a lot of friends in Northbrook. And now I joined the Rotary Club. I do all these things in Northbrook. But I grew up in Buffalo Grove, and except for a year and a half when I lived in South Carolina, I've been here my whole life.
Awesome. That's great. Okay, so yeah, I just assumed that you were in Northbrook, which is probably not smart of me to do.
No, it was very logical. Everyone thinks I live in Northbrook.
Yeah. Okay, well, now we're setting the record straight. People, Nate lives in Buffalo Grove. Get your stuff right.
Back checked.
Fact checked. Okay. So now we're going to go into just talking about this whole concept of failure. And so Nate had shared some lots of ups and downs that he wanted to share during this, and again, as I was saying before, it came off of this whole epic fail of a show that I actually called or messaged my assistant. I'm like, oh my God, the episode was just a disaster. I don't even know if I should share it. Should I share it? Should I share it? Maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I should. And we were going back and forth, and I'm like, no, what? I'm gonna share it because this is what I'm all about, right? I can't hide things that become a mistake. And this wasn't even something that I did intentionally.
Mm-hmm.
So I want people to see that failure happens. And I've been I've been posting this a lot more and being a lot more visible in terms of the things that I'm doing that are awesome and the things that I'm doing are not so awesome because people don't know that, I'm addicted to a couple games on my phone. It used to be one and now it's like three, which is really bad.
Oh.
And that's kind of my outlet for when I need to, relax. But that doesn't tend to be something that you see somebody who is a expert on productivity doing, right? Playing on my phone. Like, oh, I got to play this because I'm not going to be able to play it for another hour and a half. So I want that to be seen. And so people who want to check that out, I'm not sure how it's going to turn out, because I said some things and you just see my co-host Angie, she's like, you have no idea what she's saying back, and I'm just responding to her because everything just seemed fine. But so, I mean, I've had so many epic fails like that. Some that are probably worse. I would say that my biggest epic fail in my life, at least at the time when I was going through it, was just transitioning out of my last job when I was working in finance at Northwestern's business school. Being able to just drop my entire career in higher ed was really, really hard for me. And I saw that as an epic failure. But at the same time, I wouldn't be here having this conversation right now if that traumatic experience didn't happen to me, where I just totally burned out, was not getting along with my boss, and I just, ended up taking a medical leave and quitting. But I saw that as a failure. I was like, oh gosh, everybody's going to think that I'm crazy, that I'm a Yahoo. And sometimes some of the biggest failures can lead to the most amazing opportunities. And so I wanted to turn it on to you, Nate, and have you share what your biggest epic fail has been and how did you prevail or overcome it?
Sure. Well, I think it's very similar, actually. So my biggest, not very similar, that I took a medical leave and then never came back to somewhere. But I dropped out of school. So I went to Clemson University, and I got in as an engineering student, which was very competitive.
Oh, what engineering?
Well, so I was undecided, but I liked mechanical and I liked civil.
Okay.
And
Sorry.
so those were that's cool. My brother actually, or my best friend is pretty much my brother. He graduated from Clemson as a biosystems engineer. And so it's very niche, and like 12 kids graduate with that degree a year.
Did you know that I have an electrical engineering degree?
You know what? It doesn't surprise me. I feel like I feel like for some reason I knew you were an engineer.
Yeah, it's like I'm just bringing engineers onto this thing. It's like, wait, you have an engineering background too? See, engineers.
Engineers make great entrepreneurs if they're the people type of engineers, because
I think that's what it is.
Yeah, because entrepreneurship is just solving problems, and engineering is just solving problems. One side is like, I could figure out how to solve a problem in the marketplace, and the other side is I can figure out how to solve a problem in life, and sometimes they intersect and you make a lot of money.
Yeah. Yay!
But back to my failure.
Yes.
We're just all happy about success and commonality.
Yeah.
But engineering wasn't for me. I'm much more of a people person. I'm much more of a, let's take this opportunity and do something with it. So I thought, why don't I get an engineering degree, work my way up in a firm, become more on the management side. But I just was bored. And so then I transitioned into agriculture and horticulture because I wanted to grow like plants and be involved in farming. But also I just wanted to grow pot. Like I was at a point in my life where I thought if I had a degree, then no one would harass me. And I made a lot of bad life decisions. And one night I had a bad mushroom trip and I assaulted 2 police officers. And and like that was an epic fail. I would say that was probably my biggest failure. But that night turned into the best night of my life because I got myself together. Like I realized I was in a living situation that wasn't right for me. I was in school that just had me feeling like I was wasting my time for 4 years to get a piece of paper and leave. So I dropped out and I went home and I started to work on my mental health and spiritual health. I started meditating and picking up all these good habits. I got sober, all these like positive decisions, and it became the framework for what you see today. And if I didn't have that failure, we wouldn't be having this conversation either.
Yeah, there's so much commonality. I love this. It's like we're just exploring all this like now where we're like, wow, we do have a lot in common, and people probably didn't even know this about either of us. They just see what we are in our businesses now. And so it's just funny how we kind of both have had some sort of turning point where we're like, oh, we got to turn the ship around and then move forward. And this is the result. And so for any of you people out there who are feeling like you're going down a path that doesn't feel right, look at the greatness that can come out of actually taking action on that. That's amazing. I love it. Yay.
Yeah, it's funny how a lot of times people, they project success and people see it And a lot of times we're sharing things because we want people to know what we're experts at or what we're successful so they can hire us and we can earn a living. But they don't see what goes on underneath all that success. And I think what I love about this is we get to expose ourselves very vulnerably about this is what motivated us to become so successful or to at least strive for that.
Absolutely. And I love this. And I want to kind of shift gears and kind of talk about entrepreneurship because both of us are running running businesses that, we have complete control of. And I think, and I've talked about this in other episodes with people who have, who are also entrepreneurs, and not everybody that I work with is an entrepreneur, but this is, it's definitely just because it's something that I'm living by virtue. It's something that I can speak and experience. But I feel like the whole roller coaster ride of entrepreneurship it just comes with so many ups and downs, because when you work, did you ever work just like a full-time job employed by other people?
I worked ever a full-time job. Well, actually, I've worked 2 full-time jobs, but I worked about 18 jobs before I started my business.
Okay. So I feel like, I understand what it's like to not be an entrepreneur, but once you get into this entrepreneur space, I think that there's this tendency for people to say, oh, you get all this financial freedom, or, you get all this like time freedom and all of this stuff, but it's almost even more so important to be super diligent about how you're spending your time and where you're putting your energy, because you have to decide it all. When you get to go to, a 9-to-5 job or somebody who's employing you and paying you to do the work, you have a structure. And as an entrepreneur, you don't have a structure. And because of that, you have to try a lot of things and you have to fail a lot, and you have to be okay with that. You also have to be okay with saying, getting rejected over and over and over again until you really find the niche of people that want to work with you and have your thing. And I mean, how long have you guys been running your business?
It's 4 years now. And
4 years.
We'll be June 2014. So we'll be going into year 5 next month.
Yeah, that's crazy. And I'm going into year 4, and I feel like I still have so much to figure out. And it's, there's times where I feel like, oh my gosh, I'm going to quit this business because I don't know what I'm doing, or I'm just having a bad day. And it's not comfortable. And so we have to be super comfortable with this concept of failure, and look at failure in a different way in order to keep going. Right.
Yeah.
How would you, if you had to, because we're in the same kind of like phase, you guys are a little bit more established by like a year than me. What was the hardest year in terms of the business building for you guys?
I'd say, I don't necessarily know one was harder than the other, but I would say they all had their own themes or their own challenges. So for me, one of my biggest issues in life has been commitment. I just have never wanted to, I feel trapped or bogged down or just like too unfree when I'm committed to something. So the first year I was doing this part-time, and I was really just learning how to do these things. So the challenge that year was how to get clients. It was my first time ever having to go out and secure clients. Yeah. Then the second year was when I quit my other jobs and went all in on the business. And that theme was faith, and having the faith that now that this is the sole breadwinning activity, it's going to come through. And so, not everybody believes in God or has any kind of spiritual beliefs, but for me, that's like fundamental to my success. I got in tune with my spirituality, and I'll talk you through an exact story that this was like what sealed it for me. Mm-hmm. I'm running the numbers. I'm in QuickBooks, and I'm like, I don't have enough to make it this month. What am I going to do? And I thought, let me just work real hard tonight. And my dad says, why don't you come with me to the gym? Let's go to yoga. Let's get your mind off of it. Okay. So I'm in the gym and I'm in the sauna, and I'm thinking through like a process of steps, like a meditation thing I do to get past and accept problems. And it works. Mm-hmm. And so then I go take the yoga class. And when I'm done, I feel great and I'm hungry. And I'm thinking, let's go to Chipotle. But then the next thought was, well, you ask your dad where he wants to go, think of somebody else. So I asked him, he's like, let's go for Thai food. So we get to the Thai food restaurant, and I run into my old martial arts instructor, and he's telling me how he just quit his job in finance and he's starting his own business and how he needs a website. And I'm like, I make websites. And I got a client right then and there, all from faith and just being willing to listen and show up in the right spot. And so when I learned that I was taking care of that day, I knew it was going to be okay. And I just had to act and build up. So like that was like the big lesson of year 2. I just need faith. And now in our third year, it's been developing personnel and creating like an intern program into getting employees. And then now this 4th year, the big theme and challenge is scale. How do I take what we've done really well as a small team and put a process behind it, put systems behind it, make it repeatable, and then bring in people with as minimal downtime as possible to get them up and running so we can serve more people.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's so great. I'm trying to think about like what themes were for me. And so my business is a little bit different because at the core of it, I'm basically selling kind of my energy and my personality in you know, as we go. And I would say the first year of my business was like, WTF am I doing? But it was also just trying to figure out what is it, or how can I leverage what it is that I want to do and how I want to help people and turn that into a monetizable thing. And so a lot of my first year was, okay, I can do what I want to do through coaching. And so learning what that meant in terms of becoming a certified coach, really understanding the coaching process, and being, you know, working with an accredited school so that I could legitimately say that I'm a coach. But also trying to figure out like, what is the Cheerful Mind? How do I make this into a business, and what's going to be my business plan to grow it? So I feel like year 1 for me was very much exploration. Year 2 was like, amp the crap up. Like, let's just open the floodgates and spread the message everywhere. So I was writing my book. I was getting my first real initial high paying clients, really trying to understand my offerings, figuring out how to market what I learned. And that was a little bit crazy, you know, growing my email list, doing all the marketing stuff. And so, yeah, it was just basically creating that foundation of the business. And then in year 2, I actually had one of my first like failed programs. So at the end of 2016, because I kind of started at the beginning of the year in 2015, right around the time where I quit. So in 2016, at the end of year 2, I was trying to launch a group program, and that did not work. I got one person to sign up, and you can't really do a group program with one person. So I converted that person to a private client, and gave them some sort of offerings. And that was something that I didn't really share in front of a lot of people, because it was like, oh my gosh, I did all of this work and it didn't work. And I think that there were some expectations that I had, or there were doubts that I had about the way that this was going. It was really, really stressful. So me being the person who's like, let me help you do things in a non-stressful way, I was doing it all the ways that I was telling people not to. So my energy was completely off. And because I was trying to ramp up so much, I was hardcore working myself to burnout again. And by the end of 2016, I was like, oh my gosh, I just did the thing that I'm telling people not to do. I need to reset. So 2017 was...
How do you reset, by the way? Just as like a pause, I'm kind of curious.
My reset. So, I mean, I think I had to like take a step back. I think, and, you know, I don't know how much you know of my story, but the reason that I burned out, or the reason that I ended up taking my medical leave from my job, was I was so burnt out that I was losing my hair. And so I got to the point where I took a break. I got myself back on track, and then I worked myself to the point again where I was losing my hair. And I'm like, why did I just do that? Why did I go through this total entire transformation as a coach? Because when you go through coach training, they really work a number on you, trying to really get your mindset really strong and really understanding the things that are holding you back. And I had fixed all of those things. But then when I got it back into the space of, okay, now I got to make money. And I, you know, went back into worker bee mode and was just like, I need to do all of this and I need to do it as fast as possible. And yeah, so it was almost kind of like I took a little like quiet leave. I was still moving, but I was moving so much slower. And I was realizing that I was going through this roller coaster of like, okay, I have these high productivity times and low productivity times. And when is this gonna, like I don't know if this is healthy for me to be like working so hard and then resting for a couple months and then working so hard and resting for a couple months.
Sure.
So 2017 was still a little bit more of that because it was like I had to publish my book and I had to promote that, and I wanted to, have the buzz of that. I went through a promotional campaign, so I had a publicist and got a lot of media done, and that was draining again. But it was like the ball was already rolling. I kind of had to just sit with it, and then middle of last year, my family was going through some health issues, mainly my parents and stuff. And so I had to it was almost like I had to take a break because I'm like, all right, I'm not going to do the same thing I did last time where I didn't prioritize my family over my work. So I let my work kind of simmer a little bit. And so last year was a little bit of a quiet year. Yes, I got to sell a lot of books, but when you sell books, it's not like, actually working with clients. So I had a little bit of a slower year last year in the second half. And then this year has been all about, okay, I'm going to work very, very steadily. I'm going to try to not like slam my calendar with all of these things and keep a lot of space open and just do work on the foundational stuff. So my themes were simplicity and visibility. So getting myself out there and being vulnerable, being seen, that was part of this show is really having people see who I am, and as totally off the cuff with my word fillers and all, but being seen for who I am as a person, because I don't want who I am as a person to be any different when you see me on stage or anything like that. But then, because of all the work that I did in the last couple of years, I was getting all this business, which has been great. I launched a program that was actually successful at the beginning of this year. So I have
congratulations
many clients. And so it's kind of, how do I maintain this without trying to do the next exciting thing? And this summer I'm going to be traveling a lot. And so it is about, really actually honoring and doing the priorities that, and a lot of it in my business is really just trying to, try to walk my talk, because I know that I can go out there and I can get clients and I can be out there, but because of the nature of the work that I do, I'm helping people create a lifestyle that they want to live. If I'm not living that lifestyle, people aren't going to want to work with me. Right. So
that's key.
Yeah. So I have to have good routines. I need to be in good mindset. I need to be healthy. So I'm working out, 2 to 3 times a week. I'm traveling a lot. I'm spending time with my family. I have good boundaries. And it's taken me a long time to do that, coming from somebody who is, naturally a workaholic. But for people who want to make that change and be able to see that, life isn't really any different if you,
Sure.
or it can be better if you have, your priorities straight. It's just so much more powerful. So it is really interesting. And I feel like next year is going to be interesting because, most of the sales, I have to do everything because I don't have people who are working with, I am doing a business partnership with one of my really good friends, and we're going to launch that into next year. So I think that there's just going to be a lot more collaboration in the future for me, but it's,
Sure.
that's what I see what year 4 is. So it's definitely different, but I feel like there's a lot more, growth that I've had to do on the personal side of things. And that happens to impact my business in a positive way, which is really, really cool.
Well, one of the things you were talking about with the ups and downs, for me, the way I visualize that is it's like playing soccer. Soccer is, in my opinion, or football, as the rest of the world calls it, one of the best sports for understanding longevity, because it's a 90-minute game played in 2 halves, and you run pretty much the entire time. It's not like football like American football, where you go hard for like 3 to 10 seconds and then they take a break. So I think about, how do I manage my runs? Like, I always need to be running. The business always needs to be going. But when do I sprint versus when do I just kind of play defense and keep up? And that's kind of how I visualize, like, and get through it. Because I go through hard periods where it's 3 weeks of averaging 6 hours a night of sleep, averaging 10 to 12 hours of work, and all these projects and all these deadlines before I go somewhere. And for me, I like 8 hours of sleep. I'm probably best with 7.5. And I like to work 8 hours a day, even less sometimes. But when I'm in that run, I just tell myself, this is temporary. I'm going to get through this. and then we'll get back to our light jog. And so I
Yeah.
think that having some sort of way of putting it in a big picture perspective has been really helpful.
Yeah, I think that that's a really great way to think about it too. And one of the things that I always do with my clients and people that or even just myself, is when I know that I'm going to a sprint, I know that I automatically have to plan some rest time afterwards. So if I know that I'm launching a program, and usually my busy time of the year is October, because that's when everybody cares about, oh, I want to start the next year off right. Yeah. And so I have to leverage that. And I usually have the overachievers who are already thinking about it, and not thinking about it at the time when it's okay, it's the new year, I'm going to do things different now. They start thinking about it a few months ahead of time, so that they're already hitting the ground running by January 1st, right? So one of the things that I like to do in that time is knowing that I work really, really hard September, October, and then when the holidays hit, I can take a break with the rest of the world, right? It's like it's really, really great. But then I also have to, when I'm going on vacation, I have to have a day of, it's a work day, but I don't take any calls. So there's always planning ahead and knowing that, okay, I'm going to have this period of transition from something that I'm doing and I'm super focused on. But when I transition back into my regular routine, I need some sort of buffer time. So super, super important.
Oh yeah. I'm kind of in the middle of one of those sprints right now. So it's,
well, this is
looking forward to my planned wind down. I don't know if you've ever been to a King Spa in Niles, but that's,
I have heard about that so many times from people. But I have to check that out, because I feel like everybody's like, yeah, you got to go. It's so awesome.
Oh, it's awesome. It's cheap. If you go get a Groupon, you can have access to everything for like $25. And then if you want to get a massage and all those other things, it's, pretty much fair market value. But there's all these cool types of like sauna and steam and amethyst room and oxygen, like extra oxygen and charcoal. And I'm just going to go hang out and lose track of time for like 4 hours. And that'll be all I really need.
Well, check that out too. We'll have to go there together.
It's a lot of fun.
Oh my gosh. I have to definitely need to check that out. That's crazy. All right. So we've talked a little bit about entrepreneurship. One of the other things I wanted to talk about with regards to failure, since you're such a social media guy, I feel like there are things that are on social media now that everybody's leveraging it to, share their personal lives, promote their businesses, everything under the sun. And so I definitely have some gripes or things that I think are social media faux pas, but what are some of the things that you see that are like big no-nos in your book, that for anybody who is watching, either as, an individual who's utilizing social media for their personal stuff or social media for their business, what are the big no-nos that you would point out, and what would you suggest to do instead?
Sure. I'll kind of look at it from maybe 3 perspectives. The first is just as a friend, like what is a faux pas, like things I don't want to see. I don't want to see you using social media as a diary. Like when people are on Facebook and they write really long posts that are very clearly about one person, I'm like, why don't you have this conversation with that person? And then I start to wonder, like, why am I friends with this person? And like, why don't I just remove them from here or hide them? And then I'm not going to see this anymore. Or like someone's complaining about like telling me this awful story that happened, and there's no like resolution, and this is what I'm doing to focus on being grateful, or this is the support I need for you to help me, or like if you could, blah, blah, blah. But it's usually just like, and this is why life sucks. And it's like, I don't need that in my life. So that's probably like, to me. Then as a person, like a prospective employee, somebody who's looking for a job, if I see somebody complaining, which kind of ties into that first one, but also just appearing like they don't like their current employer, or they always have an issue with something, or it's a very much all about me kind of newsfeed, I'm like, this person's probably not a good fit for our company. And then the biggest one from a business perspective, if you're only selling, if all you're doing is selling your service, I'm not going to be paying attention. I actually employ like a rule of thirds. A third of your content should be, who are you? What do you do? What can you do for me? A third of it should be, here's some really good information about my industry that you should know, that I'm an expert on and I want you to just have. And then a third of it should be, these are the things I like as a person. This is what our company's about. These are our values. This is how we give back to community. Because people are on social media to interact with other people. They're not there to be sold to. So you have to meet them where they're at and why they're there.
What's the platform that you help people with social media wise most out of all of the different platforms, or do you do a little bit of everything?
We do almost all of them. It depends on a company or a person's brand and where their customers are is really at the end of the day, or why they're using social. So for example, we have a few residential home construction or remodeling companies, and a lot of them, their playbook is Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest. And the reason for those three things, Facebook and Instagram are where you're going to have the most effective ads and where you're going to be able to get in front of people who are already looking for remodeling. But then Pinterest is extremely visual. It'll give people ideas. You could show off all the details that maybe you don't have time to showcase on the other platforms. And it's also one of the best for SEO, which for people who don't know, that's search engine optimization. And Pinterest drives 5% of referral traffic directly to websites. So there's so many links on Pinterest that if you can build a ton of content, that's going to pump a lot of web traffic.
That's something that I don't know. I've always been kind of like, I don't know about Pinterest because I don't know if that really helps me, but yeah.
Well, here's actually how it could help you, if you don't mind me giving you a little advice.
Okay, go for it.
Your target customers are people who want to get their lives to a different place and they're trying to grow or evolve in some capacity. So a lot of those people are busy creating dream boards and like they're trying to visualize what a life could look like. So you could teach them how to do that and create different boards on Pinterest that, whether it's career goals, body goals, health goals, fitness goals, personal relationship goals, and you put together you have like your own dream boards and your vision board and however you want your life to look. And then you teach them how to do that for themselves and start thinking about it. And then you can create one that's all product based. That's every book you've written, every program you offer. And when people start interacting with the stuff that has nothing to do with sales, now they come to the sales part.
That's interesting. I never thought about it that way. That might need to be some sort of 2019 goals that I need to play around with. Because this year, I was primarily on Facebook because that's how I connect with people most. I have been starting to push, random, posts and content on Twitter and LinkedIn and Instagram. I'm more doing, I'm trying to grow that right now just to engage with people as a person. And I'm not necessarily doing much selling, but what I do want to say in terms of social media faux pas is I can't stand it when, I will see a post that I like and then they'll immediately come to me and be like, hey, do you want to try my product? Or are you looking to earn some money or blah, 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 cryptocurrency? And I'm like, no, I just liked your post or I just whatever. And it's just funny that they automatically jump to that. And I'm not that type of person. And maybe that's bad on my part because I'm not going straight for the sale, but that is just a big turn off to me. And there was actually somebody who I talked to, she was talking about the same concept of like, everybody just goes in and is like, do you want to buy my product? And blah, blah, blah. And they just go straight without even establishing a relationship. And it was funny because I think she wanted to share her product with me, but like, I just wasn't asking about it. And I had some times where I was like, maybe I'll just ask her what she does. And she does like network marketing, but it's like a wine situation, which I think is totally like out of all of the different network marketing things, that sounds very interesting because everybody drinks wine, right? Or many people drink wine. I don't even drink that much wine, but I know that I can see where it's like everybody, likes
it's a super common way to get people together.
Yeah. And it's better than like all the different other like face products out there. And it's just different. Right. But, so she, like, we were talking for like 2 weeks back and forth. And then she's like, I've wanted to ask you, but I haven't really found the right time. So I'm going to just ask you now. And it was just cute because she was doing it in this way where you could tell that she was trying to be mindful, and I appreciated it. And I was that much more willing to help her and just have a conversation with her about how I could help her grow her business, or is there anybody that I know that I could refer her to instead of me, because I've done those like wine club types of things. And the one thing I don't like is the fact that when they deliver to my house, I have to be home. because like they can't leave the alcohol just sitting on the in front of the house. And so that just kind of ruins it for me. It's like, if I can't be flexible, and you just send me the stuff and it takes a little bit longer because it's alcohol. Like, I don't know if I could do it. So I was like, well, I wonder if this would work for other people, like people who live in condos and have somebody who can take those things in. That would be super easy sell, in my opinion. But yeah, so it was interesting because when I was thinking about like social media, because I'm an entrepreneur, I just feel like I'm connected to so many entrepreneurs online. And when I see things that are just strictly selling, it's a turnoff for me. I don't know.
It depends on what people are selling, I think, is the biggest thing. A lot of people are selling a commodity, or they're selling something where it's all about the product or service and has nothing to do with the person selling it. And so they have an approach of scarcity where they have to go and run and gun. And if they can't get the sale in 10 to 15 minutes, you weren't a good candidate and they're going to move on. And so on social, they blast, and it's more like a shotgun effect. But for people like you and I, we are more the product than what we're actually selling. It's our brand that matters. And so we have to be much more careful and much more tactful in how we go after the sale, because I don't know about you, but I'm not planning to be in the same place I am next year. I'm planning on leveraging every positive relationship and interaction I've had to build to the next thing. And where I'm going to be in 15 or 20 years is going to be all predicated on maintaining a great reputation. And so those people who spam you, they're not selling reputation. They're just trying to get paid today. But you and I are trying to create legacy and trying to create a real ethos that you can't tarnish that with a quick sale on social media.
Yeah, you just totally nailed it. That's the best way that I've heard it described. I love it. I'm going to steal that now and be
Please do.
But yeah, and I was thinking about what I would be doing, next year. And I want to definitely talk about this offline about what your vision is for your long-term plan, because I have some crazy visions too that I wonder if there's alignment there, and we should talk about that. But we'll save that for offline.
Or we'll save it for the spa.
Yeah, save it for the spa and the tea time. We've got only a few more minutes, so I love all of this conversation that we've had so far. But I got to get ready to wrap it up. I'm always in this like, oh my God, it goes by so fast. The one thing I wanted to end on, just to keep things different, is, and just like I've been doing with every single episode, is my Ask Apryl Anything segment. And so I gathered a ton of questions that people have asked me over the span of last year that people wanted to know about me, or just in general, how to questions or anything like that. So one of the questions, and we'll just end on this, is, and we can both kind of answer this. The question was, how do you keep cheering when the team is down and out and it's freezing outside? And so I thought this was funny because this could have been taken in the context of actual cheerleading when I was a cheerleader, when my team was losing, which at Northwestern during the time we had one winning year, and then the other 3 years were bad, or not as great. But it was definitely cold outside. Most of the time we weren't in a dome. So from that perspective, how do you keep cheering when the team is down and out and it's freezing outside? You don't really have a choice to walk off the field. So that was going to be my little sidebar comment on that. But the other piece of it was, I think about this more in the span of life. Like, how do you keep moving forward when, everything around you is falling apart and it doesn't seem to be working? And so that's where I wanted to answer this from. And I would say for me, and this is like a quote that I either stole from somebody, but it's so relevant to this. But I feel like the only way that you can truly ever fail on the theme of failure is to just give up. And so if you want to give up, then of course it's, the only result you're going to get is that the team is going to lose, or that it's going to be, it's going to be an epic fail. But if you don't give up and you say, okay, maybe this one instance didn't work, let's try something different. And you continue to do that every time you hit, a fail, you do something different, you keep on doing something different until you get the result that you want. It doesn't matter, and that's the reason why I keep on working on this cheerful mind. This is why I'm doing what I'm doing, because I want to experience complete happiness and joy and success. And sometimes I need to tweak my definition of what success is. Sometimes situations change and I need to navigate around them. Sometimes I need to totally switch course because I realize that the thing that I thought I wanted, I don't want anymore. But I'm not going to give up. And it's kind of that same concept in football or cheerleading or whatnot. And so that's my response to that question. Nate, do you have any thoughts or anything you want to share?
Yeah, I would say before my failure, I was on the sidelines of life. I wasn't in the game. And so now that I'm in the game, how do I keep cheering myself and the rest of the team on? So we have no choice but to keep playing. Almost like your thing with when it's cold, you can't walk off the field. So it's first, I'd say I have to have the ability to accept what is and to say that this is the situation and I'm okay. And then once I'm in that place, it's like, oh, I'm okay, great. Now what do I do to get back to feeling amazing? And yesterday I had one of those days where I just felt like a complete failure. And it was weird because nothing went wrong. I mean, I might have had a few minor hiccups, but it's just like any other day. Just the feeling was there. And I had to accept it and let it go. And I went and saw a friend. He picked me up at the train on my way to where I had to go. And I told him that, and he laughed about it because he shared what he feels, and we kept it moving. By the end of the night, I felt great. And so it's just acknowledging it's temporary, it's okay, and that we have to keep moving.
Yeah, I love that. Awesome. And for any of you who are watching, if you have a question that you want to be answered on the show or in a newsletter or just anything by me, you can go to www.thecheerfulmind.com/AAA and leave a question. It's a super simple form. It's like literally, what's your name? Ask your question. Keep it clean. Keep it relatively clean. You can joke around too. I will entertain that, but just keep it clean for all the youngins that might be watching. But yeah, Nate, thank you so much for coming today. This was an amazing conversation. I'm going to double check the live stream and make sure that it's there and shows up and that we didn't have any technology fails. And this is going to give me some great feedback on how to do shows in the future. And hopefully, we can do this again maybe next year or something like that, and see how the show's evolved and how we've evolved as people as well. But I appreciate all of the amazing conversation we've had today, and I'm so glad that I got to know you more through this. So, yay!
Thank you. Likewise. Thank you for having me, Apryl. This was a lot of fun. Definitely want to do it again, and looking forward to connecting offline.
Awesome. Okay. And Nate, I totally forgot to tell you before we go off that just stay on and then we'll chat a little bit after.
Cool.
Just so now you're seeing but I'm going to sign off on YouTube. So thank you guys, everyone, for watching. And Cheerful Conversations episode 11 is on, I think, 13th. So I will see you guys then. Thank you. All right. Bye.